Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. US steps up efforts to contain the West Asia crisis. Biden tells Netanyahu killing of Haniyeh has not helped work towards ceasefire. Reaffirms commitment to Israel's security. 4 American citizens freed in the biggest Russian West prisoner swap since Cold War lands in Maryland. Russia frees WSJ reporter Ivan Gershkovich, while Germany releases murder convict Vadim Krasikov to Russia. US President Biden acknowledges Germany made significant concessions to achieve prisoner swap, hails feat of diplomacy and friendship. Russia's Putin welcomes them as heroes loyal to the motherland.
This deal would not have been made possible without our allies. Germany, Poland, Slovenia, Norway, and Turkey, they all stepped up and they stood with us.
Leave Lebanon now. India, Australia, Canada issue advisory as crisis in West Asia escalates. India asks those who remain to exercise caution and restrict movement. And in sports, Simone Biles clinches a 6th Olympic gold medal at the Paris Games, reasserts her status as the #1 all-round gymnast in the world. And on to the details now. US President Joe Biden held a phone call on Thursday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden had a direct conversation with Netanyahu during which he said that the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh was not helpful for a ceasefire in Israel's conflict in Gaza. The White House earlier informed that the two leaders discussed new US defensive military deployments to support Israel against threats such as missiles and drones. Well, international diplomacy is continuing as world leaders call for calm amid fear the Middle East may be on a brink of a wider regional war. The United States has sent 12 warships to the Mediterranean. Sarah Coates has more from Tel Aviv. Take a look.
Certainly a lot of fear here in Israel in the wake of these threats by Iran, by Hezbollah and also by Hamas after the assassination of 2 very senior members of both Hamas and also Hezbollah. Now, the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he has been threatening a very strong response on Israel, and that certainly has people here very, very worried. What we are seeing on the ground is panic buying in supermarkets, beaches that are largely packed on a Thursday afternoon, which is the beginning of the weekend here, largely deserted. So there is, of course, a lot of fear, a lot of worry about what could come over the coming hours. And we do know that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he's held very high-level meetings with not just the head of the Home Front Command, but also the National Emergency Authority. Now, Netanyahu posted on X that Israel is at a high state of readiness for any scenario, both defensively and offensively, saying we will exact a very high price for any aggression from any arena. Reporting from Tel Aviv, Sarah Coates, DD India.
Well, meanwhile, India has issued an advisory for its nationals in Lebanon over potential threats. In 2 advisories issued within almost 12 hours, Indian Embassy in Lebanon asked its nationals to leave Lebanon and avoid all non-essential travel. The advisory said, in view of recent developments and potential threats in the region, Indian nationals are strongly advised against traveling to Lebanon till further notice. All internationals are also strongly advised to leave Lebanon. Those who remain for any reason are advised to exercise extreme caution, restrict their movements, and remain in contact with the Embassy of India in Beirut through their email ID, that is cons.beirut@mea.gov.in, or the emergency phone number, that is 96176 800 128. Also, Australia too urged its nationals to leave. Ministry of Foreign Affairs Penny Wong warned all Australians in Beirut to leave immediately.
My message to Australian citizens and residents in Lebanon is now is the time to leave. If you are in Australia and thinking of travelling to Lebanon, do not. There is a real risk that the conflict in the region escalates seriously. The security situation could deteriorate quickly with little or no notice. Some commercial flights are still operating. If you can leave, you should. Beirut Airport could close completely if the situation worsens. And if that happens, the government may not be able to help Australians still in Lebanon to evacuate. You may not be able to leave Lebanon for an extended period. I know Australians, in particular the Lebanese Australian community, are worried. We share your concerns. We are working with partners in the region to push for restraint and de-escalation. But now is not the time for Australians in the region to wait and see what happens. Now is the time to leave.
Well, Canada also urged its citizens to come back home if they were in Lebanon and to not think about visiting Beirut. Minister of Foreign Affairs in a statement said, to Canadian citizens and permanent residents, if you are in Canada and thinking about visiting Lebanon, don't. If you are in Lebanon, come back home. If tension escalates, the situation on the ground may not allow us to help you and you won't be able to leave. Plan accordingly. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Thursday spoke with the Saudi Foreign Minister about Gaza and Sudan. The State Department said that Blinken and Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud talked about the importance of a Gaza ceasefire deal. They also discussed the need for the Sudanese armed forces and rapid support forces to participate in a ceasefire talks this month. And a plane carrying detainees released by Russia landed in the United States at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. U.S. President Joe Biden and U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris greeted journalist Evan Gershkovich and two other Americans who arrived back on U.S. soil. Russia freed Gershkovich and ex-U.S. Marine Paul Whelan were among 24 detainees released as part of the biggest prisoner exchange of its kind since the end of the Cold War. The White House said the U.S. had negotiated the trade with Russia, Germany and 3 other countries. The deal, negotiated in secrecy for more than a year, involved 24 prisoners, including 16 moving from Russia to the West and 8 prisoners held in the West being sent back to Russia. Perhaps the most crucial decision for the prisoner swap to happen was made not by the U.S. President Joe Biden, but German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Germany agreed to release Vadim Krasikov, who was serving a life sentence for murdering a Georgian citizen in a Berlin park. Chancellor Scholz said it indeed was a difficult one, but necessary to protect German and U.S. citizens. Speaking at Cologne Airport, where he was waiting to welcome the freed prisoners, Scholz said U.S. President Joe Biden had thanked Germany for its help with the prisoner transfer.
I spoke to President Biden on the phone, who is very thankful for the cooperation of our 2 countries in this important matter. For the United States, it was especially important to see Wall Street Journal journalist Evan Gershkovich and ex-Marine Paul Whelan in freedom, in close and trusting cooperation with the United States and European partners. After months of confidential talks with the Russian side, it was now possible to release 15 people who were illegally held as political prisoners in Russia. The state's interest in seeing him punished had to be weighed against the danger to the bodies and, in some cases, the lives of innocent people in prison in Russia and political prisoners.
While the White House hoisted the national hostage and wrongful detainee flag over the building after the announcement of biggest East-West prisoner exchange. Earlier this year, U.S. President Joe Biden signed bipartisan legislation that established the official hostage and wrongful detainee flag and established March 9th as the annual Hostage and Wrongful Detainee Day. At the time, U.S. senators said the flag would serve to remind people of the plight of Americans unjustly held abroad. While negotiated in secret for more than a year, the deal announced on Thursday represents a major accomplishment for the parties involved. U.S. journalist Ivan Gershkovich, former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, U.S.-Russian journalist Alsu Kurmasheva, and Russian-British dissident Vladimir Kara-Murza were released by Russia. One legal permanent resident, Vladimir Kara-Murza, also to return. Also, 12 German nationals and Russian political prisoners returned to Germany, including Dieter Voronin, Kevin Lick, Rico Kreger, Patrick Schubel, Herman Moishes, Ilya Yashin, Lilia Chancheva, Ksenia Fedayeva, Vladimir Ostanin, Andrei Pivovarov, Oleg Orlov, and Sasha Skuchelenko. 8 people who are returning to Russia are Artem Dalstev and Anna Dalseva from Slovenia, Mikhail Mikushin from Norway, Pavel Rapsov from Poland, Vadim Krasikov from Germany, Roman Selensnev, Vladislav and Vadim Konashchenok from US. And U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris praised the prisoner swap with Russia. Talking to reporters, Harris said the United States stands with all of those who are fighting for freedom in Russia.
The United States stands with all of those who are fighting for freedom in Russia. As we celebrate today's news, we must also keep front of mind that there are other Americans that are unjustly being held in places around the world. And we will never stop fighting for their release.
Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump has been using the wrongful detention of Americans Ivan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan in Russia to criticize President Joe Biden for failing to bring them home, especially during his re-election campaign. And following Thursday's historic prisoner swap, the presidential nominee continued to bash the administration with baseless speculation. Posting on in a Truth Social, Trump repeated the allegations that cash was involved in the deal. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin also met the Russian nationals freed in prisoner swap at the Vnukovo airport and congratulated them on their return to their homeland.
First of all, I want to congratulate you all on your return to your homeland. Now, I want to address those of you who are directly involved in military service. I want to thank you for your loyalty to the oath, to your duty and your homeland, which has never forgotten you for a minute. And now you are home. All of you will be nominated for state awards. We will see each other again, talk about our future. Now, I just want to congratulate you on your return home. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Also, the newsroom of the Wall Street Journal came to a halt on Thursday as word came in that their colleague Ivan Gershkovich was included in a historic prisoner swap. Led by the Wall Street Journal editor Emma Tucker, staff members quickly gathered in the center of the newsroom to cheer, leaving some in tears. Editor Tucker gave a toast to Gershkovich's freedom and the hard work it had taken to get there. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Diplomatic efforts underway to persuade President Nicolas Maduro to release vote tallies from Venezuela's presidential election. 3 states in Nigeria have imposed curfews. We give you details. Stay tuned. And experts discover that tropical glaciers have shrunk to their smallest size in more than 11,700 years.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think All dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lakshadweep, and moving on. Brazil, Mexico and Colombia have called on the Venezuelan government to release the full vote tallies from the recent elections. This appeal underscores the regional concern over transparency and democratic integrity in Venezuela, where electoral processes have frequently been marred by controversy and accusations of irregularities. The governments of these three Latin American nations emphasize the importance of transparency in electoral outcomes. The call comes amid heightened scrutiny of Venezuela's electoral system, raised concerns about the fairness of elections. And updates from Venezuela now. Diplomatic efforts are underway to persuade President Nicolas Maduro to release vote tallies from Venezuela's presidential election after opposition leaders disputed his claim of victory. The presidents of Brazil, Mexico and Colombia called for Venezuela to release detailed voting tallies on Thursday. The countries later issued a joint statement calling on Venezuela's electoral authorities to move forward expeditiously and publicly release. The statement further reads, "The fundamental principle of popular sovereignty must be respected through impartial verification of the results." And moving on, Brazil has taken over administration of the Peruvian embassy in Venezuela after its diplomats were expelled over their criticism of disputed election results showing President Nicolas Maduro won last weekend's election. Brazil will mediate on issues regarding Peruvian citizens in Venezuela, and the country also took over the Argentine embassy. Venezuela expelled diplomats from Argentina and 5 other countries, Chile, Costa Rica, Panama, the Dominican Republic and Uruguay, over election-related criticism. Caracas also severed relations with Peru after Lima recognized opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez as Venezuela's elected president. And amid the ongoing crisis, Venezuela's top court on Thursday accepted a request by President Nicolas Maduro for all presidential candidates to present their vote tallies. Maduro on Wednesday said his Socialist Party is ready to present all vote tallies and asked Supreme Justice Tribunal to ensure all parties do the same. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado invited supporters to gather on Saturday to show support for people imprisoned for protesting against the results of the presidential election. In a video on social media platform X, Machado repeated that the opposition had won the election and said they would stay firm. Well, the U.S. government on Thursday announced that it is recognizing opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez as the winner of Venezuela's presidential election. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Edmundo Gonzalez won the most votes in Venezuela's July 28th presidential election. Venezuela's electoral authority has declared President Nicolas Maduro the winner of the election, a result that has been derided as implausible by the opposition, independent pollsters and many foreign governments. Well, 3 states in Nigeria have imposed curfews after protests against the government turned violent. Thousands of people across the country took part in demonstrations demanding reforms to address current economic struggles. Correspondent Ajik Mangut reports for more.
The northern states of Borno, Kano and Yobe declared a 24-hour curfew to prevent the escalation of violence. Incidents of violence were reported in the northern part of the country, where public infrastructure was vandalized and looted while vehicles were set ablaze. Police fired several rounds of tear gas in many parts of the country, including the capital Abuja, to disperse protesting crowds. Protesters expressed their anger and frustration over the poor state of the economy, carrying placards with inscriptions like "End Bad Governance" and "Enough is enough" to hunger and hardship. The government had pushed for the protests to be cancelled, but Nigerians insisted on holding the demonstrations, saying reforms introduced by President Bola Tinubu have led to economic hardship. The government's removal of a subsidy in May last year has led to a sharp rise in fuel prices, which in turn has caused an increase in transportation costs, food prices and overall inflation. The protests are the first big demonstrations by Nigerians since the End SARS movement against police brutality in 2020. The rallies are expected to last for 10 days as Nigerians demand accountability, the reinstatement of petrol subsidy, among other political issues. Nigeria's government has appealed for more time to address economic challenges, adding that it does not want the protests to reverse the progress it says it has made in the last year. Ajak Mangut in Abuja, reporting for DD India.
And now shifting focus to updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict, the long-awaited arrival of the first batch of US-built F-16 fighter jets is a milestone for Ukraine, but the lengthy process to procure the US-designed aircraft and train Ukrainian pilots to fly them has frustrated Kyiv. The number of delivered F-16s appears to be small for now. The Times of London cited a source familiar with the matter who put the figure at just 6 aircraft. Military analysts say that number is expected to grow, but it is far short of what Ukraine needs. Receiving missiles with 180-kilometer range would allow them to attack Russian warplanes armed with guided bombs and help significantly reduce Russia's offensive opportunities. Russia has intensified its attacks on infrastructure that could be used for the maintenance and deployment of F-16s. And the Russian Ministry of Defense announced that conducts drills involving the installation of special dummy warheads on launch vehicles as part of the third stage of their tactical nuclear weapon exercises. This exercise is part of a broader training program designed to enhance the readiness and operational capabilities of Russia's nuclear forces. The use of dummy warheads allows the Russian military to simulate real-world scenarios, ensuring that personnel are well prepared to respond to various contingencies involving nuclear assets. And the race for the White House has taken a turn, with the race becoming a focus following Donald Trump's comments during a recent interview. The former president questioned the race of presumptive Democratic nominee Kamala Harris and whether she really was black or not. Mitch McCann reports for more.
Speaking to the National Association of Black Journalists, Donald Trump raised eyebrows when he said of Kamala Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black, so I don't know. Is she Indian or is she black?" Questioning the race of his political opponent has seen Donald Trump come under intense scrutiny, with the White House calling his comments both repulsive and insulting. Harris avoided responding directly to specific comments, but described Donald Trump's onstage interview as the same old show of divisiveness and disrespect. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, has been targeting Democrats on the issue of immigration from the U.S. southern border in Arizona. Vance, attacking Kamala Harris, said it's hard to believe until you see it with your own eyes just how bad the policies of the Kamala Harris administration have been when it comes to the southern border. Kamala Harris is expected to name a vice presidential candidate in the coming days and will hold her first rally alongside her chosen running mate next Tuesday local time in Philadelphia. Mitch McCann in New York, reporting for DD India.
Well, a New York State appeals court on Thursday rejected Donald Trump's challenge to a gag order in his hush money criminal case. Former U.S. president was convicted in May on charges stemming from hush money paid to a porn star. The decision means Trump cannot comment publicly about individual prosecutors and others in the case until justice sentences him on September 18th. Trump's lawyers have argued that the gag order violated Trump's constitutional free speech rights under the First Amendment. The original order prevented Trump from commenting on prosecutors, court staff, witnesses and jurors. A separate order against naming the anonymous jurors remains in effect. And the U.S. Senate on Thursday approved a bipartisan proposal that would add 66 new judges to understaffed federal district courts around the country over the next decade, which, if enacted, would be the first major expansion of the judiciary since 1990. The bill is designed to address long-standing requests from the judiciary to help address rising caseloads by adding judges in 25 district courts in 13 states, including California, Texas and Delaware. And now let's take a look at weather updates making news around the world. Experts discovered that tropical glaciers have shrunk to their smallest size in more than 11,700 years, revealing the tropics have already warmed past limits last seen earlier in the Holocene age, researchers from Boston College report today in the journal Science. The discovery shocked scientists. The study collected data at 4 glaciers across the Andes, which comprises 99% of the world's tropical glaciers. For the first time, the Chile's capital sees first rainless July on record. Usually in July, the region registers at least 50 millimeters of rainfall, but exceptionally this time, no rain has led to dryness in the region. Experts say the unprecedented rain crisis during July might become more frequent due to La Nina climate phenomena and climate change. Prolonged drought continues to bite and the summer heat pounds Spain. The intense heat wave, with temperatures soaring above seasonal averages, has further strained the country's resources and energy infrastructure. Crops are suffering from the lack of water, impacting farmers and potentially leading to higher food prices. On the other hand, heavy rain floods Pakistan's second-largest city, Lahore, after monsoon rains reportedly broke records. Heavy rain caused flooding on the streets, submerging roads and highways. The weather authorities of Pakistan said the eastern city received, which broke a 44-year-old record in Lahore. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll give you an update on Wayanad landslide rescue efforts as rescuers raced against time under harsh conditions to search for survivors trapped in debris. Another hearing on NEET-UG to be held today in Supreme Court. And UNGA President heaps praise on India for lifting 800 million out of poverty simply by smartphone.
Welcome to Lakshadweep, the land of 100,000 islands, the aquatic wonderland of India, an archipelago of spectacular marine gems, colorful coral and crystal clear lagoons, a kaleidoscope of turquoise blue. Each island of Lakshadweep draws in explorers with its unique beauty. Witness idyllic sunsets and pristine beaches of Kavarati, the majestic lighthouse and colorful boat races at Minikoi. Experience water sports in the shallow lagoons of Kadmat. Unwind in the serene setting of Bangaram. Lakshadweep offers a precious heritage of ecology and culture, with rhythmic beats of folk dances echoing through these islands, delighting visitors in traditional folk dances and local artworks with abundant marine life and mineral resources. the islands are advancing towards a greener, brighter future. Lakshadweep is set to amaze visitors with its breathtaking wonders and picturesque seascapes. In the enduring spirit of incredible India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lakshadweep, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. U.S. steps up efforts to contain the West Asia crisis. Biden tells Netanyahu killing of Haniyeh has not helped work towards ceasefire, reaffirms commitment to Israel's security. 4 American citizens freed in the biggest Russian-West prisoner swap since Cold War lands in Maryland. Russia frees WSJ reporter Ivan Gershkovich, while Germany releases murder convict Vadim Prasar to Russia. U.S. President Biden acknowledges Germany made significant concessions to achieve prisoner swap, hails feat of diplomacy and friendship. Russia's Putin welcomes them as heroes loyal to the motherland. Leave Lebanon now. India, Australia, Canada issue advisory as crisis in West Asia escalates. India asks those who remain to exercise caution and restrict movement. And in sports, Simone Biles clinches a 6th Olympic gold medal at the Paris Games, reasserts her status as the #1 all-round gymnast in the world. And moving on, in India's southern state, Kerala, rescuers raced against time under harsh conditions to search for survivors trapped in debris after massive landslide struck Wayanad district on Tuesday. The death toll exceeded around 250, with several other people still missing. The toll is expected to rise further. Search operations intensified in the landslide-affected areas as more heavy machineries have moved on to the other side as Bailey Bridge is fully functional. Columns with dog squads commenced search operations. State Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan on Thursday said the rescue mission in the landslide-hit Mundakai region of Wayanad could take a few more days and appointed a cabinet subcommittee of 4 ministers to coordinate the rescue efforts. Meanwhile, the Indian Meteorological Department has predicted moderate rain for Wayanad and several other districts over the next couple of days. A yellow alert for heavy rain has also been issued for 5 other districts. And DD India's Ajay Joy joins us from southern India's Wayanad for more. Well, Ajay, good morning. The construction of the 190 feet long Bailey Bridge has been completed, which will help connect the worst affected areas of Mundakai and Churalmala in Wayanad district, which were hit by devastating landslides. What is the current situation at the ground and how are the rescue operations going on?
Yes, actually the search operations are on. As we had mentioned earlier, the whole landslide area, the affected areas, is divided into 6 separate zones. 40 teams, separate teams are deployed to cover all these areas. So to have the understanding about each team, we'll be having members from Army, members from NDRF, local fire and rescue departments, and they will be assisted by 3 locals who are quite knowledgeable with the area. And some of these teams will be assisted by the dog squads as well. And each will be having 1 member from the forest department also. So right now, 6 sniffer dogs, they are in full operation in the search, whatever the operations are happening right now. 4 more cadaver dogs, they will come from Tamil Nadu today. So totally there will be a dog squad of 10 member basically to scout around this area. Now, rain is still here. Even right now, I'm in Mepadi. It's a little away from the epicenter of the landslide, but some sort of heavy rain is happening here. The same is there in the landslide affected areas also. With that, we will have a intensified search operations in the river also. If you can see, what you see is in the landslide area is basically the tributary. This tributary is merging into the main river Chaliyar in the downstream, and many bodies are being found even now from the neighboring district, Malappuram. So intensified search operations are happening in that river downstream as well in 3 separate mechanisms using helicopters, using local sumes and the police divers. And the third is Navy and the Coast Guard, their diving teams searching in the areas near to the rivers and where bodies are more likely to be found. So that's the update from here. The whole rescue operations are on its full force right now. 25 ambulances will cross every day to the other Mundakai area because the Bailey Bridge is done right now. So now onwards, we can see more updates from the field.
Of course, a very fragile situation. What all is the government doing for the flood-affected people there in that region?
Camps have been opened. All those people who have been rescued, who were affected in this particular area, they are moved to the camp. And in Mepadi itself, most of the camps are in Mepadi town itself. The higher secondary school has been converted to a camp. Almost around 4,600 some odd people are right now in the camp in this particular location itself. And all facilities, medical facilities are mentioned to them. But the more hard part is that many of the dead bodies are yet to be identified. And that's where things will get a little difficult now onwards, identification of the bodies and the cremation afterwards. That will be one of the major challenges the government will be facing anytime. And as it was mentioned in the review meeting yesterday, so many small kids have been orphaned. How about their education? And that will be the primemost concern now onwards for government. We expect a special package to be announced for these people. Most of them will have to be moved out from this area because this area is right now known for the landslides and can be categorized as severely landslide-prone areas now onwards. So I don't know if there is any zoning coming or not, but definitely we will see a displacement from this area in a large manner, and they are allowed to be rehabilitated. And that's where the major challenge comes for the government.
All right, Ajay, thank you so much for all that update from Wayanad. And India experienced higher than normal rainfall for several regions in July 2024, which is a good sign for agricultural activity. The Indian Meteorological Department on Thursday predicted normal to above normal rainfall in parts of the country in the second half of the monsoon season. The IMD has said that the first week of August will be marked by good rainfall across India. Meanwhile, central India will receive normal to below normal rains in this period. Further extreme heavy rains and red alert has been forecasted in Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra for the next 5 days. Also, the state of Gujarat received good amount of rain in the past 24 hours. The weather department has warned of heavy rain all over the state. Average rainfall in Gujarat is recorded around 60%. In southern Gujarat and Saurashtra region, it is around 75%. And in India's Parth Pandya joins us from Western Indian city of Ahmedabad for more. Well, Parth, India's weather department has warned of heavy rain all over Gujarat, which was there for the last 24 hours as well. How is the state preparing for it?
Yes, Lepakshi, it is a very pleasant morning right now in the Ahmedabad because it is drizzling since 2 a.m. midnight. Yes, IMD has issued a red alert-like situation for upcoming 1 day remaining. But yesterday, what IMD said is there are two cyclonic systems right now acting above Gujarat in the Arabian Sea, and another one is the offshore trough from the coast of Gujarat till the coast of Kerala. So the low pressure zone will create a good amount of rainfall from 2nd of August, that is today, till 7th of August. These 5 days are going to be critical for the Gujarat because IMD has issued such warning. Number one. Number two is there has been a good amount of rain, as you mentioned earlier, that it is about 60% average. And moreover, in the Saurashtra and the southern Gujarat region, it is about 75%, which is significant. Meanwhile, in the Kutch also, it is about 85%, which is a very good amount of water. As far as this good amount of water is concerned, farmers are very happy because they are going to harvest a good crop and the future will be good for them. Meanwhile, it is a steady and the slow type of rain since last 24 hours, and which led to the clearance of the roads, which was earlier into the water, the causeways and etc. into the water is now a bit clear. Things are well in control right now in the Gujarat. NDRF and SDRF teams are standby in the regions of South Gujarat and the Saurashtra, but fortunately, we didn't need of them because there was no situation of emergency like in the South Gujarat. Today also, Surat, Navsari, Valsad, Bhavnagar, Gir Somnath and Kutch is on the high alert because IMD has assured that good amount of rain is going to be happen in this 24 hours. So yes, we can say that administration is ready for any event going on.
Right. Thank you so much, Parth, for all that update from there. And moving on, heavy overnight rains triggered flooding and a house collapse as several rivers swelled in Indian state of Uttarakhand. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took stock of the situation in the wake of the intense showers. PM has also assured Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami of all necessary assistance. The Kedarnath Yatra was also suspended amid the inclement weather conditions as the heavy downpour triggered landslides at many places. The trek route remains blocked by the boulders. Also, two Indian Air Force helicopters, a Chinook and an Mi-17, are being used to evacuate pilgrims stuck between Gaurikund and Kedarnath. Meanwhile, the Indian Meteorological Department issued red alert for extremely heavy rains in parts of Uttarakhand. And around 50 people went missing following multiple incidents of cloudburst in North India's Himachal Pradesh, with a heavy rain-induced flooding also resulting in a breach at Malana Hydel project. The National Disaster Response Force and Home Guard teams are making efforts to rescue people. Manali-Chandigarh National Highway has been breached at numerous places due to landslides and gushing waters of River Bias. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is closely monitoring the situation and extended all possible assistance to the state. Himachal Chief Minister Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu said the state government stands shoulder to shoulder with the people of Himachal in this hour of crisis, adding that communication with the centre was in progress to help with relief assistance. He urged people to take precautionary measures and avoid going near rivulets and rivers. Also, the Indian Meteorological Department issued a flash flood warning for 6 districts of the state. The Met Department also issued a red alert of heavy to extremely heavy rain along with thunderstorms and lightning at isolated places in the districts of Kangra, Kullu and Mandi. It also warned of landslides, mudslides and land sinking. And now let's give you an update on the NEET exam. The Central Bureau of Investigation filed its first charge sheet in the alleged National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test Undergraduate 2024 question paper leak case. The charge sheet has names of 13 people as accused who were allegedly involved in the paper leak and other irregularities. As many as 6 FIRs were filed by the Central Probe Agency in connection with discrepancies in conduct of the NEET-UG examination. The case in Bihar pertains to question paper leaks, while the remaining cases from Gujarat, Rajasthan and Maharashtra involve cheating and impersonation of candidates. Meanwhile, the Apex Court will pronounce the judgment, offering detailed reasons as to why it took the decision of not cancelling the medical entrance examination. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met the Speaker of the House of Representatives of Japan, Lukaga Fukushiro, and his delegation of Japanese Parliament and business leaders on Thursday. During the meeting, the Prime Minister highlighted the conducive business environment and reforms undertaken in India for more investment and technology from Japan. Lukaga proposed that India and Japan nurture and train the next-gen workforce in different trades, including by conducting training in the Japanese language, culture and work practices. He underlined the role of the private sector also in these endeavors. He said that these resource persons will play the role of bridge between the two sides in times to come. The meeting underscored the robust India-Japan special strategic and global partnership, highlighting key areas of collaboration and mutual interest with a focus on people-to-people cooperation. It also reiterated the importance of parliamentary exchanges between India and Japan. While stressing the use of digitization for rapid development, the president of the 78th session of the UN General Assembly, Dennis Francis, lavished praise on India for its work in this direction. Addressing the Food and Agriculture Organization in Rome this week, the president mentioned the contribution of mobile phones and digital banking services in India in lifting 800 million out of poverty. He highlighted how people in rural areas of India are able to make payments and pay bills just on the touch of a smartphone.
Rural farmers in India who never had a relationship with the banking system are now able to transact all their businesses on their smartphone. They pay their bills, they receive payment for orders. 800 million people lifted out of poverty, because there's a high level of internet penetration in India. Almost everyone has a cell phone. That is not the case in many parts of the global south.
And still to come on DD India News Now. We'll bring you on what's ahead for India on day 6 of Paris Olympics. Bronze medalist Swapnil Kusel says that he draws inspiration from MS Dhoni, who too was a railway ticket collector. And in cricket, India will take on Sri Lanka in the first ODI of the 3-match series in Colombo.
This summer, the world turns its eyes to Paris. And DD India brings you every heartbeat, every victory, and every story. Introducing our special coverage of the Paris Olympics. Experience the passion, the drama, and the triumphs. With exclusive reports, expert analysis, and up-to-the-minute updates. Join us as we bring the spirit of the Olympics to your screens.
Get ready for the ultimate sporting extravaganza on DD India.
DD India presents Champions Day Paris. Only on DD India. Every day at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. I'm Lakshadweep Shikuran, and moving on to some business news now. Markets in India on Friday opened with steep losses. The Sensex opened with a negative gap of 709 points in the opening session. Nifty 50 index cracked more than 1% or 260 points to a low of 24,751. It had topped the 25,000 mark for the first ever time on Thursday. Mid-cap and small-cap indices also declined more than 1% each. Global mood also turned sour on Friday as the U.S. market plunged sharply in overnight trades on tepid economic data. Also, Apple reported a return to sales growth in its fiscal third quarter as iPhone revenue topped Wall Street targets, helping cushion a bigger than expected sales decline in major markets of China. Apple's revenue rose $85.78 billion in the 3 months, beating the average analyst estimate of $84 billion globally, whereas Apple sales in Greater China declined by 6.5%. And Shishir Sheller joins us on the phone line to talk about the Sensex. Well, Shishir, Sensex sacked nearly 800 points on Friday morning. International mood is also sour there. The market's mood is sour. What's the latest from there? We'll again come back to Shishir. As of now, let's take updates from Paris Olympics 2024. The most decorated gymnast, Simone Biles, won the all-round gymnastics title in Paris and 6th overall medal at Olympics so far to cement her place back at the top of her sport. In a tight race between Biles and Brazil's Rebecca, the American was surprisingly left trailing in third place. However, she was back on top after a solid performance on her next apparatus, which was the balance beam. Biles captured her second gold medal of the Paris Games and a second all-round Olympic title after also winning the individual event in Rio in 2016. She also claimed the team gold earlier this week. And looking forward to day 7 of Paris Olympics, Team India is all set to feature in shooting with Manu Bhaker in women's 25-meter pistol qualification, hockey, rowing and second round in golf, among others. DD India correspondent Narayan Singh will give us more for day 7.
Who has already won 2 medals at the Paris Olympics will be back in action on Thursday, aiming to make history in the women's 25-meter pistol qualification. Bhaker, along with compatriot Asha, will strive to reach the final, putting Bhaker on the brink of an unprecedented third medal at the single Olympics, a feat no Indian athlete has ever achieved. In a highly anticipated match, the Indian men's hockey team will face against the favourites Australia in Pool B match. Despite having already qualified for the quarterfinals, a strong performance against Australia would significantly boost India's confidence ahead of the, we can say, quarterfinal. Balraj Panwar will compete in men's sculls event in rowing, although this event does not count towards medal contention. And meanwhile, in athletics, Tejinder Singh will participate in the shot put qualification event, and Parul Chaudhary will race in women's 5,000-meter heats. If we talk about golf, that individual final, that they will be in round 2, Shubhankar Sharma and Gaganjeet Bhullar will be there. And in sailing, women's dinghy race, Netra Kumaran will be there in the first. It will be at 3:45 p.m. and after that around 4:50 p.m. If we talk about men's dinghy, Vishnu Sarvanan will be there. He will feature in the race 4. It will be in the evening.
Well, bronze medalist Swapnil Kusel said he draws inspiration from MS Dhoni, as he too is a railway ticket collector like the cricket icon was earlier in his career. Being calm and patient are prerequisite for a shooter, and those two traits are also the hallmark of Dhoni's personality. Here's more from a correspondent, Narayan Singh.
Swapnil Kusale created history in the Paris game. He became the first shooter to win a medal in 50-meter rifle 3 position. And we know that first time an Indian shooter won a medal in this event. Previously, Abhinav Bindra did that feat, but it was in 10-meter air rifle. And if we talk about this achievement, it will be, we can say that be remembered in the annals of the Indian shooting history. But today we will not talk about this achievement, but we will talk about his Mahi connection, how Swapnil Kusale is related to MS Dhoni. Both MS Dhoni and Swapnil Kusale, before as a player, they were the ticket collector in Indian Railways. And when we talked to Swapnil Kusale, he said that MS Dhoni is his role model, and he watched his biopic several times. And like Dhoni, he is too cool and composed and calm, and it is a prerequisite of the game. And we know that Dhoni, with his coolness, with his calmness, he was also known as the Captain Cool, how he dominated the world cricket. And through these qualities too, Swapnil Kusale did the same thing. We can say that he started his shooting career long back, but it took long him to be there, and finally he won a medal in the Olympics. So the qualities which makes players great, definitely these are the qualities. So we are hoping that he will continue this winning momentum that he has started at the mega event in Paris.
And in Peru, indigenous women artists are harnessing the power of murals to celebrate and preserve their rich traditions and culture. These vibrant works of art are transforming public spaces, providing a platform for indigenous voices and narratives that have often been marginalized or overlooked. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Dipakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.